yours. Today is June the 7th, 2010. This is Claire LeClaire Gates. We are in the hospital at Charleston. She's getting ready to leave though, but we're going to start this now. She's going to talk a little bit, and I'm going to try to hold this while she's talking.
Okay.
Talk loud.
Want me to talk now?
Yep, you're going.
Okay. I was born in Lake London, Michigan in 1917, May the 17th, 1916. And then I was born in a hospital, which back in those days was unusual because most people had their babies at home. And it was just a little bitty old hospital. I weighed 3.5 pounds when I was married, when I was born. My parents didn't wait very long to find out whether they were fertile or not, because I was born about 9 months later. I looked like my mother had said, typical of what prematures look like. At 3.5 pounds, or 4.5 pounds is what I weighed. I had a lot of hair on my face. And Mother was perturbed.
She still does, by the way.
Mother was perturbed about it, and Uncle Will Saracen said to Mother, "Oh, don't worry about it. She's going to be a beautiful girl." I don't know what I'd do if it was a beautiful girl or not, but I've had a good life. I've had a lot of fun. So it was during the Depression. The copper mills had closed down, and there was no work up in northern Michigan. So we moved to Minnesota, to Hibbing, Minnesota. And when Dad worked, I don't know what kind of work he did, but that's where he was. And we lived in an apartment, and my mother always said that I didn't remember, but I did. We lived in an apartment, and it had a big kitchen, and it had all gray cabinets. And that was one of the things I remember. The other one was that it had linoleum on all the floors. Well, at Christmas time that year, we went back to Michigan for Christmas. And there was a flu epidemic at the time. And my father was one of 20 children. And when he came back from Michigan, he got the flu. And Mother came home, and we got it too. And we all had the flu. Well, he got a heart condition from when he was a child, and he wasn't able to survive, so he died. But I can still remember them coming and getting him and taking him to the hospital. So I can remember being really sick and it's funny, but I had an orange in my hand, and I kept that orange till it was all shriveled up. That's the kind of memory I have. I've got a good memory, thank God for that. So when my grandmother came from northern Michigan to take care of us, and when Mother was well enough, we traveled back to northern Michigan to Lake London. But on the way, we had to stop in Duluth, where my uncles lived, my Uncle Leo and my Uncle Oliver. Mother had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. No, yes, she was one of 5 children. But my grandfather, Jacques, had been married before, and he had children with his first wife, but I don't remember how many. It was just a couple, it wasn't very many. I have to stop and think once in a while.
It's all right.
What happened.
You want me to stop? I'll stop. We can pause.
I can remember stopping there. They had an old coal stove. I remember that old coal stove. So we got to Michigan, and the thing I remembered about then was, you know how Grandma had 2 doors close together, One went into the pantry, and the other one went to the outdoors. Well, I used to get those two doors mixed up. They had a dog called Bob. Only Grandpa couldn't say Bob, he used to call him Bub. And he was also he had poor sight. He had glaucoma, as I can remember now, remembering back. He had glaucoma. So he was real proud of himself. He says, Grandma, you know that little plant that you had in there on the desk? He said, it bloomed. I watered it every day, and it bloomed all the while you were gone. It was an artificial flower that he had been watering all that time. So we lived with grandmother and grandpa, and I don't know whether it was, he didn't live very long after that. And one time Uncle Frank, called him Uncle Frank. He didn't like to be called Francis. That was Sissy. So Uncle Frank was out playing, and Grandpa looked down, and this little boy was running. He said, oh, Grandma left you out of the house without your shoes on. Climb on my back. I'll take you home. This little boy climbed on his back, but it wasn't Daddy. It was another little boy. And here he carried him home on his back.